Let's spend the day together, filling a sketchbook page with hand-drawing studies, leafing through books, and planning my days. I talk about the books that have inspired me and the struggles of working when you deal with chronic pain. Welcome back to Bunny Hoof Studio. I'm Emily, a dip pen and ink illustrator, and I thought it would be fun to bring you along with me for a day for some very important drawing practice, and of course some time with my cats. Make sure to tell me in the comments which hand I draw is your favourite. Every single day for me starts with coffee. I'm from the UK, so most people I know usually have black tea with their breakfast, but coffee just hits different. I live off-grid in Portugal, and so I always make my morning coffee with a mocha pot, although we can now power a coffee machine if we have enough solar. I like my coffee strong, but not too bitter, lightly roasted. Something about the smell of coffee brings me so much happiness, and I'm extra lucky because coffee is fairly affordable here. I should get a coffee-scented candle or something. I'm very boring, so I pretty much eat the same thing for breakfast and lunch every day. I did make the granola myself though, if that counts as interesting. My breakfast also included painkillers, as I've been dealing with a lot of headaches and migraines recently. It wasn't too bad on this particular morning, I just wanted to make sure I had something to help me through the day and lift the pain a bit. Yes, I do drink plenty of water, and I only have the one coffee every day. Sebastian, my cat, always likes to join me. I also like to call him Goblin, as in his old age he has a lot more goblin behaviours. Despite him having the option of cushions to sleep on, he always opts for a pile of leaves or a dusty nook to sleep in, so his white fur is often a little grubby. My other cat, who you saw at the beginning, is a bit more of a free spirit, and decides on a whim how much time he's going to spend with us or how much time he's off on adventures in the woods. My studio is very small. It's actually a tiny caravan. This corner is my main workspace, and the area behind the camera has my piano and other instruments and a seating area. There's also a cupboard behind my chair that's full of various art materials. I always start the day with a to-do list. I have a weekly list, and I'll refer to that to figure out what needs to be done on that day. On today's list is hand studies. I'm excited to get started on these, because drawing studies is really something I don't do enough of. I actually started this sketchbook years and years ago. I've only filled 3 pages. This first page was from when I was working in a cafe and reading Moby Dick, so I added one of my favourite quotes from the book. And then just before I moved to Portugal, I created this fine liner drawing. This was actually the beginning of me completely redoing my portfolio, and this was one of the first pieces I created before I discovered my infinite love for dip pen and ink. I love how thin the pages are. I think they're perfect for loose drawings, and I love how the pages crinkle when I touch them. I'm fairly certain I want to keep things simple today with 2 pencils, but I want to quickly try out some of my other pens and graphite before I start. I have my Pentel Graph Gear mechanical pencils, HB and 2B, my Platinum Desk Fountain pen, a really affordable but excellent pen that runs really well, a Pentel brush pen that takes cartridges, and a friend gave me these. They are called Pentel Touch. The rest of the writing is in Japanese, so hopefully touch is all you would need to find these. They have felt ends that are really fun and fluid to draw with. I have both black and grey. I'm also starting to realise that the majority of my art materials are Pentel. And finally my 2B Pentel mechanical pencil as well. Also my Sylvanian sheep, who is here to give me moral support. And I decided she needed company from a little stargazing black cat. Seeing as so many years have passed since the drawings in this sketchbook, I'm going to give this sketchbook a new start, with my name and date. I always do this to all my sketchbooks. It's nice to have a clear idea of the year I started something. Partially it's just interesting. It can be really useful for finding a thumbnail or piece of information you know you created at a certain time. I decided to test out some of the materials I picked out to see if I feel like using anything besides pencil today. Next are these felt drawing pens. They're very fun and fluid to work with, and I love the sound they make on the paper. And I realised my Pentel brush pen was completely out of ink, and I don't have any more cartridges. I definitely need to buy some. Seeing as it's been so long since I created any drawing studies, I decided to stick with my mechanical pencils. Perhaps next time I can try some of the others, but I thought it would be fun to share some of them with you today anyway. I'm using reference that I picked throughout these drawing studies, and I recommend that you do too if you want to push yourself to improve. I deliberately decided to pick some fairly tricky hand positions to push myself a little more than usual. I'm used to drawing what I find the most fun, but I think it's good not to get too complacent. I was actually a little nervous to start at first. I'm not sure why. Perhaps it was because I knew I would be drawing imperfectly on camera, whereas in my past videos I have planned out all my drawings, or done most of the prelim sketchwork off camera. It's also been a long time since I drew anything out of context, so I think it felt a little strange at first. It's why I wanted to start today with a familiar medium. For this first study, I really liked the swoop of the hand shape. I really enjoy drawing long expressive lines with figure drawing too, or long flowing hair. I'm erasing a lot of my work as I'm drawing. I find it can take a while to really warm up to the process. I'm trying not to be too precious about it, but I still want to make sure I'm conveying the shapes and positions correctly. I'm also not being too detailed with shading. I want these studies to be quite quick, but I still want to add shading for more sense of depth, and it's always good to be thinking about how shadows and light work while drawing. This next hand is definitely one of the trickier ones. I usually start by very lightly sketching out the rough outline of the hand. I find this really helps to keep everything in proportion and to give a good general idea of the size of the whole hand. I think one of the most useful pieces of drawing advice I was given was to pay attention to the negative space and also how everything relates to everything else. If you see that the top of the thumb aligns with the top of the knuckle, you know if it doesn't, something is too big or too small and therefore not in proportion. How much negative space is between the thumb and the rest of the fingers? It can also be easy as a beginner to over-exaggerate certain shapes and subtle ripples in the shapes, like how the line running from the thumb all the way down to the wrist gently curves. It can be easy to add these in the wrong place or to overemphasize them too much. I think it can be fun as well to do life drawing or anatomy practice stylistically too. I remember once deciding to do some life drawing very stylistically and it being really fun and expressive, over-exaggerating how slender the model was and how dark and messy her hair was. I think I partly did it this way because I liked and connected with how her body looked in a creative way, and I thought it would be more interesting and fun to create more expressive rather than realistic lines. And out of all the life drawing classes I had done, that one was definitely the most memorable because of how much fun I had. I still really clearly remember my drawings from that session. And now, part of the fun of being entirely self-led is that I can do whatever I want, and today I want to explore a more realistic approach, as my work is often always stylized now. This finger was the part I knew would be the trickiest. When a hand is in a more unusual position, it can be hard to make something like a finger sticking out like this look like it belongs to the rest of the whole hand, rather than just a floating finger kind of stuck onto the hand. I find it helps to very faintly draw how the finger would look behind all the other fingers until it is visible. I also pay attention to the proportions of the finger in relation to all the other parts of the hands. I had to make a few attempts though until I was happy with my sketch. And now for a little bit of detail and some shading. This part is always fun, as I can relax now that all the shapes are penciled in and focus on giving more of a three-dimensional feel. I like combining really sharp dark lines with softer and lighter areas. I used my 2B pencil to shade, and this is softer to work with. then swiftly on to the next. I'm determined to get this whole page filled. At the time I was thinking I'd perhaps be able to do a double page spread, but unfortunately my day had other plans. I decided to add a smaller sketch in the corner that was a little easier, just to give myself a bit of a breather from the previous two. It was fun working on something a little easier. My shading is quick and very scribbly. Initially, I think it always looks quite bad, but once there's enough contrast added, suddenly it all comes together at the end. Most of these references have very dark backgrounds as well, which is why I've been outlining them in very dark graphite. And now to start on the fourth hand, but misfortune strikes. I suddenly notice my vision has a blind spot, like a flashing speck, which means I'm getting a migraine attack. It's weird how quickly these come on. I can go from being perfectly fine to suddenly not being able to see in a few minutes. It was close to lunchtime, so the timing wasn't too bad. Time to rest and see if I get better to make more drawings today. 3 hours later, and it looks like I'm back in my little studio with some tea, and I'm going to talk to you a bit. I had to very abruptly stop filming because I started to get a migraine. Because of course I got a migraine on the day that I wanted to do a day of drawing. And unfortunately it was a migraine with an aura, which basically means I lose my vision, so I could tell very quickly that I was getting a migraine because I start getting a blind spot that kind of shimmers, and I immediately stopped and went to lie down in the dark, and I did take some painkillers. Those don't really do much, but they kind of help to lower the pain a tiny bit. I'm actually feeling not too bad. Sometimes migraines knock me out for the whole day, and sometimes the pain isn't too bad, so I'm feeling kind of okay, so I might continue drawing. I've made myself a nice cup of tea, and I do find tea can help. I think it just helps kind of relax and soothe my head. And I've just been looking through some books just to kind of relax before I do some more drawing, just to see if I'm feeling okay. It is very humid today, and maybe the air pressure is kind of heavy. That might have also contributed to my migraine. It's really frustrating because I rarely have any warning signs, and I never know when I'm going to get one, really. So occasionally there might be a sign that I might get one, but it's never like a guarantee, and today I had absolutely no idea I was going to get a migraine. The only thing I noticed was that while I was drawing, I was feeling a bit kind of jittery, but I thought that maybe I was just feeling jittery because I was a bit nervous about drawing on camera, because usually when I'm drawing on camera with my other videos, everything's pre-planned, so I've already kind of planned the illustration or planned the project that I'm working on, whereas this was more kind of free drawing. I am using reference, but it's I wondered if that's what was kind of making me feel a bit on edge, but then I started getting a migraine, so I think that maybe I was feeling a bit strange because of that, but I never really know. It's always a mystery. Anyway, here I have one of my most precious books. My mum actually gave me this book when I was around 12, and it used to belong to her as a kid, and it's called The Golden Age of Fantastic Illustration. And this book was extremely inspiring to me, and I used to copy a lot of the illustrations out of it. Some of them I don't know if I can show on camera because they have nudity, but it's Arthur Rackham. If you know Arthur Rackham, very well known. And this is Heath Robinson, these ones. And these just really beautiful detailed illustrations that are so imaginative. And here I also have this fairy tale book, Hans Christian Andersen, and this was given to me by my mother-in-law, and this has lots of illustrations inside as well. There's so many, I can't find the one that I liked. I like the moon and this girl here stirring a pot. I have no idea what the story is. This one is nice too. Might be a little hard to see. There's a girl here with these fairy folk. The little girl's trouble. There's one I really like in here, but I can't find it right now. This is a lady with a stork, or a bird that looks like a stork. Ah, I think this is from the same story. I like this one. These two girls embracing, and a stork or some kind of crane or bird with a long beak. Helga meets with her mother in the marsh. Okay, embracing her mother. I'm going to continue, I think. I'm feeling quite a bit better, and I think the tea is really helping. And I'm having fun using this sketchbook. Pages are quite thin, which is quite nice, just for doing pencil sketches. And I'm quite pleased so far. Considering I haven't done any drawing practice for a very long time, other than the illustrations, the finished illustrations I do, I'm quite enjoying it. It's definitely felt a bit challenging. I've been purposefully picking hand references that have quite difficult poses, or poses that are less common, that perhaps I'm not so used to drawing. This one in particular I thought was going to be quite hard to do, and it was a bit tricky, especially getting this finger here to look natural and like it belonged to the whole hand. This one was quite fun. I liked the elegance of this shape. This one, the thumb was quite tricky to do. And I got a migraine just as I started the fourth hand, so I'm not sure I can even remember what reference I was using for that one, but I'll see if I can continue with what I was doing. I have my Sylvanians here to help me and keep me company. None of them have names, but this is a sheep and this is a little black cat. So I had planned on filming a double page spread, but I think I'll only have time for one full page today. I think I did manage to find which reference I was using, and I continue with this one. Depending on the migraine, sometimes I'm okay after a few hours, so long as I don't move my head around too much, do anything quickly, or experience anything stressful. So depending on what I need to do on a day, I can often keep working. The weird thing is, sometimes lying down can actually make the pain worse. Sometimes sitting and doing something kind of easy but engaging can actually help. Often playing piano can be helpful. I do have migraines though, that are so intensely painful I really can't do anything, and interestingly those are the ones without an aura. And I actually get them more frequently and usually wake up with them in the night or early in the morning. I really hate them. Something that I think can be strange or difficult for people to understand is how we can keep working despite pain. Sometimes it is just the reality of it. If I stopped every time I was in pain, I wouldn't get anything done. It would disrupt my life too much. So I tend to pay attention to my own limits. I know when it's bad enough that I need to completely stop, because I can't do anything and I'm not able to concentrate. Living with a lot of medium and low-level pain is draining though, and it means I have to pay a lot of attention to my body and adjust things accordingly. I often feel like I'm balancing one of those pinball machines. I'm also very careful about sleep, stress, and diet, and most mystifyingly, I can be feeling really great and full of energy and still get a migraine attack. They're very weird ephemeral things, tied to brain chemicals, nerves, and things like dopamine. I think people often forget it is a neurological disorder, similar to narcolepsy and epilepsy, although usually much less dangerous and disruptive. I'm waiting on a doctor's appointment to try out some medication that I used to use in the UK though, so I'm hoping things will start to get better then. I think I was feeling a little frustrated with this one a few times, but I ended up really liking the shape of the two stretched fingers. The thumb wasn't quite as good as I would have liked, but I also tried to remind myself that it's okay if I'm struggling a bit, I'm not exactly feeling 100%. For this next hand, I decided to go for a more simple position, something I'm more used to drawing. Many people find drawing hands difficult, and I definitely think mastery is very hard. I certainly don't think I'm an expert at it, but I do enjoy them. I especially like using them in my illustration work. They can be so expressive and an interesting way to enhance a composition. I love looking at hands in classic paintings especially. There were many different hand positions that symbolize different things. Perhaps it could be fun to do a drawing session of classic hands from paintings rather than photo reference one day. I think hands are difficult because they encompass so many elements that can take on so many shapes. It can be difficult to get these all in proportion with one another. That in every hand is unique. They all have slightly different widths and lengths, different skin texture too. For the next hand, I wanted to do something small to fill this space, but also a little different. A more witchy, stylistic hand with longer nails. I like how the fingers are both thicker and elegant at the same time, and I especially love drawing the sharp pointed curve of the thumbnail. This also puts me in the mood for filling a page with vampires or something. I couldn't quite decide if I wanted to fill this space or not, but in the end I decided to, this time holding an object, a different kind of challenge for hands. I actually think I found this easier, perhaps also because it was smaller, but also because having an object can help add proportion and scale to the elements. And now my last hand. I have a tiny bit of space in this corner. This one is a little trickier, fingers holding and disappearing into the folds of a book. Not only do I have to consider perspective, but also need to make the hand really look like it's holding the book. Another challenge when drawing this sort of thing. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And here are my page of hand studies. Which hand do you like the most? My favourite is still that second hand I drew with a slightly awkward position of the forefinger. I hope you enjoyed spending the day with me despite the unexpected setbacks. Subscribe if you want to see more videos of my ink illustrations and drawings, doll making and art vlogs. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.